Before she ever confessed, his body already knew. Not intuition, conditioning, the subtle dark psychology of pattern breaks that scream. Danger long before proof arrives. The phone tilt, the delayed replies, the smile that didn't reach him anymore. This story isn't about betrayal. It's about the invisible moment respect dies. He believed loyalty was enough, that patience was strength, that being good would protect him. It didn't. They met young, built fast, won early. Marriage, house, child, stability. He thought the climb was over. He stopped sharpening himself. She didn't. In dark psychology, attraction feeds on momentum. Stagnation is decay. When his career stalled and hers exploded, power quietly shifted. Not loudly, not cruelly, silently. He adapted by shrinking, supporting, yielding. He mistook surrender for love. And with every concession, something primal changed in how she saw him. What happened next wasn't sudden. It was inevitable, and no escape then. The real danger didn't arrive with another man. It arrived when he stopped being a force. Dark psychology teaches this quietly. Desire follows direction, and direction disappeared from his life. When he lost his job, it wasn't just income that vanished. It was certainty, identity, gravity. He told himself it was temporary, but months stretched on. Rejection stacked up. Confidence leaked out slowly, invisibly. Meanwhile, she stepped into pressure and thrived. Longer hours, bigger rooms, louder respect. And without a single argument, the hierarchy shifted. She became the mover. He became the adjuster. He handled the home, the child, the logistics, necessary things, safe things. But safety doesn't spark polarity, it dulls it. He didn't notice how admiration turned into tolerance, how attraction cooled into appreciation. Dark psychology warns, when a man stops pursuing his edge, someone else eventually occupies that space. He still believed love was intact. He was wrong. Something essential was already gone. Here's the cruelest part. She never announced her detachment. Dark psychology rarely does. It erodes through microsignals. The way conversations shortened, the way she stopped asking his opinion, the way silence replaced curiosity. He felt it but explained it. Away, stress, work, life. He chose the comfortable, lie over the threatening truth. Meanwhile, she was expanding. New colleagues, new admiration, new reflections of herself that didn't include him. He became support staff to her evolution, useful but no longer central. In power dynamics, usefulness without presence creates invisibility. He avoided confrontation to keep the peace, not realizing peace without polarity breeds contempt. Each time he swallowed discomfort, he trained her nervous system to see him as non-threatening, non-challenging, safe. And safety without tension becomes emotional death. He waited for things to fix themselves. Dark psychology is brutal here. Waiting is a signal. And the signal said he wouldn't act. Someone else eventually would. The signs didn't arrive all at once. They never do. Dark psychology hides collapse behind normalcy. A new gym routine. Clothes he'd never seen before. The phone always face down. Always silent. Always guarded. Business trips multiplied. Names repeated too often. He noticed everything. That's the tragedy. Awareness without action is its own form of self-betrayal. His instincts screamed, but fear answered louder. Confrontation meant risk. Risk meant loss. And he'd already lost so much of himself he couldn't bear to lose the life he was still pretending to have. Friends saw it. Family sensed it. He was the last to admit it, because admitting it meant the illusion died. Dark psychology calls this avoidance preservation. The mind protects the ego by delaying pain, even when delay guarantees destruction. He wasn't stupid, he was terrified, and terror kept him passive while the bond quietly dissolved behind his back. The moment of truth wasn't dramatic. That's what hurt most. No shouting, no confrontation, just a screen left open, a name he knew too well, words that collapsed every excuse he'd ever made. In dark psychology, certainty is more destabilizing than suspicion. Suspicion lets you hope. Certainty removes choice. He didn't explode. He froze. Shock doesn't always scream. Sometimes it goes silent. He sat with the knowledge like a weight on his chest, watching his life continue as if nothing had changed. When she came home, she kissed him, lied effortlessly, And he let it happen. Why? Because confronting her meant forcing a decision. And deep down, he feared the answer. Silence became his strategy. But silence isn't neutral. Silence communicates submission. Each day he waited, the affair gained momentum. Each night he stayed quiet, his value eroded further. Dark psychology is ruthless here. What you tolerate, you teach. And he was teaching her something dangerous. He told himself he was being strong, stoic, mature, dark. Psychology exposes the lie. Avoidance often disguises itself as virtue. He wasn't protecting the family. He was protecting his fear of confrontation, fear of abandonment, fear that if he spoke, she'd choose the other man without hesitation. So he maintained routines, school runs, dinners, polite conversations, a performance of normality. Inside, resentment fermented, self-respect eroded. And here's the brutal mechanism at work. When a man refuses to draw boundaries, he signals that boundaries don't exist. She didn't suddenly lose respect. It drained out slowly, reinforced every time he chose silence over assertion. In dominant psychology, unchallenged behavior escalates. The affair didn't slow down. It deepened. Because nothing stopped it, he thought patience would bring her back. Instead, it taught her he would endure anything. And once that lesson is learned, reversal becomes almost impossible. Months passed like this, quietly, brutally, and somewhere in that silence, a realization finally cut through. He hadn't lost her to another man. He'd lost himself first. Dark psychology calls this self-abdication. When a man abandons his mission, his edge, his willingness to risk loss, he becomes psychologically smaller. She didn't wake up one day and decide to betray him. Her nervous system already had. Respect had drained. Attraction followed. And into that vacuum stepped someone. Decisive, assertive, directional. Everything he had stopped being. This didn't excuse her choices, but it explained them. The affair wasn't the cause. It was the symptom. The real collapse happened years earlier when he traded leadership for accommodation, growth for comfort, courage for peace. He thought love meant never rocking the boat. Dark psychology says the opposite. Boats without direction drift, and drifting always ends somewhere dangerous. The marriage was already over. He just hadn't admitted it yet. The end didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived with paperwork, custody schedules, quiet conversations explained gently to a child who didn't understand why her world was splitting. Dark psychology reveals something unexpected here. Collapse creates space, and space forces identity. Alone for the first time in years, he faced the man he'd become. Smaller, safer, invisible, and he hated it. That hatred became fuel. He rebuilt deliberately, training his body, reclaiming discipline, pursuing opportunities he once avoided to keep her comfortable. Each decision restored something. Primal, direction, gravity, presence. The irony was brutal. The man she left was disappearing. The man she once loved was re-emerging. But now it was too late. Still, something powerful happened. He stopped needing validation. He stopped shaping himself around someone else's life. Dark psychology is clear. Power returns the moment you choose yourself. And once chosen, it compounds fast. With distance came clarity, not bitterness, precision. He could finally see the pattern, without emotion blinding him. Dark psychology reframes love as maintenance, not possession. Attraction isn't promised. Respect isn't permanent. They are negotiated daily through behavior. He learned that goodness without backbone becomes invisibility. That sacrifice without self-respect becomes quiet resentment. That patience without boundaries teaches people how to treat you. He connected with other men who had walked this same fire. Not men blaming women. Men owning their failures without self-destruction. That mattered. Because responsibility isn't about shame, it's about leverage. If your actions helped create the outcome, then new actions can prevent it next time. He stopped romanticizing endurance, stopped worshiping peace, started valuing direction, leadership, self-trust. He didn't want revenge. He wanted alignment. And that shift changed everything. The lesson wasn't don't love, it was don't disappear while loving. That distinction saves lives. This story isn't a warning about women. It's a warning about passivity. Dark psychology exposes the final truth. Relationships don't collapse when someone cheats. They collapse when one partner stops becoming. He wishes he could speak to the man he used to be. He wouldn't beg him to hold tighter. He'd tell him to stand taller, to keep building, to confront early, to risk loss before loss becomes inevitable. The wedding isn't the finish line. It's the starting gun. If you're in a relationship that feels quiet in the wrong way, where patience feels heavy, where peace feels like self-erasure, something is already wrong. Ask yourself the uncomfortable questions now. Are you growing or just maintaining? Leading or accommodating? Acting or waiting? Because waiting feels safe. But safety is an illusion. What saves relationships isn't loyalty alone. It's presence with direction, strength with kindness, love that refuses to disappear. Learn this before silence teaches it for you.